And this is where things get interesting. Reigns cuts a heel promo. Usually don't see this at the end of pay-per-views without someone jumping in. And that certain someone was John Cena. John Cena probably received one of the two biggest pops of his career. Probably is tied with Royal Rumble 2008. I don't have them side by side to actually compare. But it got me thinking. John wasn't getting that response a few years ago. Now, before the pandemic, you could tell that the crowd changed their reaction when they saw Cena. They were starting to understand, listen, this isn't going to last forever. There's going to be greener pastures. We've seen this with The Rock. It's going to be a different level of things. Now, John Cena isn't going to become The Rock in Hollywood. And I'm willing to bet we're going to see a lot more of him in the wrestling world. Listen, Father Time catches up with everyone. And the audience is aware of that. What they're also aware of, and this is what happened when he was gone, you realize the void that was created. How much John Cena covered up when he was there. And what I'm talking about is the leader of the C Nation was one of the most well-rounded wrestlers we've ever seen. As far as like a sports entertainer, like the whole package. He had the look, one of the greatest promo guys of all time. Probably could argue the greatest promo guy of all time when you talk about dueling promos, being able to think on your feet. I understand he didn't have the electrifying, pun intended, promos that The Rock did. But when you talk about balancing of emotions going from highs to lows, John Cena might have done it better than anyone. And then the guy's been in a lot of classic matches. He got that 5 Moves of Doom label that was probably pretty unfair. But you saw in the U.S. Championship run, he was taking on guys every single week and was putting on 4 to 5 star matches. In his World Championship bouts, he's put on some pretty good classics as well. So really compare every one of those categories and think of who in history has checked those boxes to the level that John Cena has. Very limited company where you can at least admit, I don't care if there's someone you put above him and how can you say John's on this guy's level? You can admit the guy's all-time great without being a hater. So now you have him and Roman Reigns. Now all of a sudden SummerSlam has become so much bigger. You try and do John Cena versus Roman Reigns 2 to 3 years ago. I mean, you kind of did. And what happened? Roman forgot his promo. It just was very awkward. Roman couldn't be on the same stage with the same light shining down as Cena. He just didn't belong there with John at the time. And the reason why is one guy's a veteran, one of the best to ever do it, completely comfortable, and another guy was still trying to figure out his character. There's a lot of things that happen backstage that make guys unsure, scripts. I'm sure at the time Roman didn't have quite as much leeway as John built up over the years, a lot of that equity that you see with Attitude Era guys where their promos are different because you can tell they don't have the same restrictions on them when they go out there. Now you have a confident heel Roman Reigns. He doesn't need to say as much on the microphone. He doesn't need to do his best John Cena impersonation. He can go out there and he can be Roman Reigns. I have a feeling when he goes out there and speaks, he understands what his role is, where he's coming from, not only where they started, but where they need to finish in the segment. And that's huge because you need somebody that can at least semi-keep up with Cena to make the promo intriguing, to really build to this match. And now you've hit this point where Roman's created his own mini dynasty. It's a classic build of new hungry lion trying to prove he's the best, and he's pretty successful at it. But then you have that old lion that when he was there, he was the king of everything. This is where you find out who is the best. Obviously, in storyline mode, this is where you find out who is the best. That's what makes John returning so great. It's funny because John overlapped into Roman's generation. John was from the Ruthless Aggression era, but then he came into the PG era, and he was in Roman's generation, but not when Roman was at the top of his game. It's a mini dream match when you think of it from this point of view. You didn't get to see Roman and John towards the top of their games together. Now we're going to see that. Now we have something to really build SummerSlam around, and it was perfect timing. The first pay-per-view since we got the go-ahead that everything's going to have a live crowd. Now, we know WrestleMania had a live crowd, but not like this. This is where it's full go-ahead, and it's going to be one heck of a ride going into SummerSlam.